Welcome back. We are on episode 5 of our series, Life in Christ, following part 3 of the Catholic Catechism, very big book explaining the teachings of the church. We have a very important topic today, passions and emotions. On one hand, a rigidly conservative position regards passions and emotions as merely neutral. That's far from the whole picture. On the other hand, it is quite widespread today, especially in the West, to view passions and emotions as what matters the most about us, and then that they tell us who we are, neglecting the spiritual dimension. That too is far from the truth. Let's see what the church teaches. This session will be divided into two parts. First, we will cover passions, and the second part will focus on emotions, natural inclinations, and the moral life. Let's dive in. The passions. Let's begin with the definition that we find in the Catechism. The first, which it is the first point on the slide, passions and emotions designate the impulses that incline a person to act or not to act because of what is perceived as good or bad. So they are drives. We are going to look at passions separate from emotions. That is not something that is typically done. But remember, we are using a model where there are three dimensions to the human person: the biological level, then the emotional or psychological level, and then the spiritual level on top. Okay? So we are studying passions as drives on the biological or corporal level. We'll have a separate series of slides looking at drives on the emotional or psychological level that have to do with a sense of self, so they're partly spiritual. We are going to separate those. For us to react to something, there must first be some kind of a perception or knowledge. This is the second point on the slide. It says, the passions are activated to respond to a perceived good or evil. As we are speaking on the corporal or biological level, we are thinking about biological drives, and we're thinking about a perception, which is what we can call a sense perception. For example, on a very hot day, like what we have had recently, you experience thirst and discomfort because of the heat. You try to drink something cold, something cold to drink, and you try to find a cool place. Well, there is a knowledge of something immediately available that will relieve your thirst and discomfort. And then you are driven to possess that thing. So coming home, you go immediately, you go to the fridge to get a cold drink, and then you find a place to cool off. It happens with animals as well. On a hot day, they try to they look for water to drink, and then they look for a cool place. This example illustrates the passion of desire. As we said, all creatures experience thirst and are driven by that desire to possess a good that is immediately present that will relieve that discomfort. It can also work in the opposite direction. Sometimes there are things you automatically turn away from. For example, suppose you go to a restaurant, but you're allergic to shrimp. If you see shrimp being served, you immediately say, no thank you, because you know that you'll have an allergic reaction. This would be the passion of aversion. All creatures experience that. If you present something to an animal to eat that the animal senses is not good for it, it will reject it. To sum up, point 3 on the slide says, the apprehension of an immediate good produces the passion of desire. The perception of an immediate evil causes aversion. Alongside these two passions, there are two other passions that are related to the perception of something that is not immediately present or absent, we can say. For example, you need a new shoe and you go to the shoe store. You hope to find a shoe that is suitable. This is the this is the passion of hope. It drives you to go to the store because there you hope to find a shoe that is suitable. It can be an absent reality that is perceived as harmful or evil. For example, you fear that you will be pulled over as you approach a roadblock because you don't have your license and you fear you will have to face a hefty fine. This is the passion of fear. It drives you to look for a way to escape the situation. Perhaps there's a turn-off before the roadblock. In the case that there is no escape, no turn-off, everybody's being checked at the roadblock, well, you experience despair. Animals, this happens with animals as well. They see their owner coming to tie them up. They try to escape, but then he catches them, he gets them, and so that's despair. To sum up, point 4 on the slide says, the apprehension of an absent good produces the passion of hope. The perception of an absent evil produces fear or despair if it cannot be avoided. Another passion is anger, which is a reaction where you want to throw off some evil that is thrust upon you. For instance, you might be angry because someone is late to pick you up for an event. The situation is thrust upon you because your ride is late unexpectedly. You wish to throw off the evil, say, I wish I'd never asked him to pick me up. I'm just going to get a different ride. I'm going to go walking or something like that. Animals experience anger as well. That a dog becomes aggressive if you try to take away her pups. We have considered 5 passions on the biological level.